What's up, poker people of YouTube? We're back with another Vodinh poker vlog, number 19, I believe. We're going to be doing another 1-3 match to stack session at 52. I want to take this time in the intro to thank everyone out there who's been giving great support so far. I appreciate everyone. I lost big, I would say, 1.5 buy-ins last time, so thankfully not everyone roasted me. I made bad bluffs. I know I made bad plays. I can play better. I just want to remind everyone that, yeah, this is a hobby. This isn't, I'm not playing poker full time, but I do take into deep consideration my plays, my studying of the game, and how serious I take it. Because, who wants to lose at poker, right? So if you do have criticism, I always thank you, and I'm super grateful for that. Thank you for all the support, criticism, hand analysis, and kind words. Thank you, everyone, for the support so far. Next video, I'm going to be doing a special one. It's not going to be poker. It's going to be explaining why I play at 52 and what's so great about it, why Houston's so great, why you should come visit. I know it's COVID season and it's pretty, I guess, dangerous depending on, how you take it, but why 52 is safe, why 52 is the place I play at, and the great deals and why it's such a great atmosphere. So look out for that next one in the vlog. Until that one, let's get into this session right now and run it up. See you guys inside. So let's go ahead and get into it. We're in the game for 1,000, buy $100 tip chips. Everyone at our table is pretty short. As you can see, it's around $100, $300 stacks effective. And the first hand we play, it's our second hand. We have King 9 offsuit in the cutoff. Even though it's our favorite hand, it's a pretty bad hand, but the low jack and hijack limp to us. We make it 15. Small blind, big blind, low jack all fold, and the hijack call. So heads up to a flop, which comes 10, 8, 5, rainbow. The low jack checks us. We bet 25, and they actually check raise us to $75. So we make the easy fold here. On to the next one. Too bad we couldn't take it down with our favorite hand. I'm going to go ahead and set the precedent that this table is very limp heavy, so there's a lot of spots where we're able to raise it and take down the dead money pre-flop. In this next hand, we have pocket sevens in the big blind. The hijack, cutoff, and small blind all limp it. We make it $17 to try to isolate. Hijack and cutoff call and the small blind fold, so we're able to get rid of one person. Flop comes 7, ace, king, 2 diamonds, and a spade. Pretty good flop for us when we want to target any ace x, king x hand, of course. So we do continue on the flop for $30. The hijack folds and the cutoff calls. Turns a 3 of clubs, pretty safe card. So we're going to keep the sizing small and continue to go for value. We don't want to scare off kings, and obviously all ace x's are going to call, so we make it $40. The cutoff folds and shows a king, so kind of sucks that we couldn't get more value, but we're happy to flop a set and take down money. In the next one, we have ace-king offsuit under the gun. We make it $20, the hijack and big blind call. 3 ways to a flop, which comes 10, queen, 5, rainbow. For not flopping a pair, we at least get the gut shot to the Broadway. Big blind checks us, so we're going to continue on this board with our overs and the gut shot for $35. Hijack folds, and the big blind makes it $100. I think we can profitably call here if we hit our top, or if we hit the gut shot, so we do make the extra $65 call. The turn is the 7 of hearts. The big blind decides to jam it all in for $150 effective, so we have nothing else to do here but fold once we miss our turn card. Immediately after that, we're in the big blind now with pocket 8s, otherwise known as a snowman. The under the gun +1, and low jack limp it. Small blind folds. We make it $18, and all 3 of those players call. Flop comes 8, 10, queen. Not a great flop, but at least we flopped a set, so we're probably good. We bet $35, continuing our aggression. Under the gun folds. The +1 goes all in for $100 effective, and the low jack also goes all in for $300 effective. I assume I had the call. I could obviously be behind, worst case, to a weird 9 jack combo, but we have outs to the boat. I think the best case is they have top or a 2-pair combo like queen 10. So let's just get it in and see what happens.
Alright, can I do some head count 5 by 10? Lisa, you clean? Thank you. 5 by 10, you clean? Alright.
I'm gonna look at these hands first.
Alex, 5 by 10.
Good jack. I see 8
Boat.
No.
So we were up against queen 8 and ace queen. The ace queen actually turned a diamond draw, but luckily enough we fade their outs on the river and we fill up 8s full of queens to scoop the entire pot. Nice pot to take down, and let's move on to the next hand. In its next hand, we have King 10 offsuit in the small blind. The button straddles on. This is basically an under the gun position where we should be folding King 10 off. But because this table is limp heavy, we're going to open our range wider and try to take down as much dead money as possible as often as possible. So we bet $16, the +1 and the button calls. Flop comes 9-8-3 rainbow. Not too decent of a flop for us. We have our 2 over, so we could technically continue. But I decided to check it, and the other 2 players check as well. Turn is a 4 of clubs, continue brick for us. We decide to check, +1 bets $23, and both of us fold. On to the next one. In this hand we have ace jack offsuit and the low jack. We open for $15, the button and the big blind call. The flop comes ace 4 king, 2 diamonds and a club. Pretty good flop for us. The big blind, weirdly enough, decides to just donk jam for their $68 effective. We have nothing else to do but call with our ace and good kicker. If they have it, they have it. The button folds. We decide to run it twice, and I'll let you see what they have. So the big blind decided to donk jam into us with ace 10 off. We're in super good shape. We decide to let them run it twice. We always want to keep the players happy at 52 social and keep them coming back. So we decide to run twice. The first board runs clean for us. The second board actually pairs the 4, so it's a chop for the bottom board. They get quartered and we get 3/4 of the pot. That's a win in my books. If we're dealt the hand, we must play it. We look down at 5 deuce of clubs in the big blind. Even better than it being offsuit, it's suited this time. The cutoff makes it $15, small blind calls, and of course we have to make the call in the big blind. 3 ways to flop, which comes 4-3-3 rainbow. We flop open-ended, which is amazing for this hand. Small blind checks it. I decide to check trap with open-ended, and I'm going to look for a check raise if the cutoff continues. They in fact continue for 30 into 45. When the small blind folds, we have an easy check raise to $80, and the cutoff folds. Always fun to play the 5 deuce, always fun to flop some equity. In this hand we have ace 10 offsuit and the low jack. We open for $15, the hijack calls and small blind big blind folds, so we go heads up to flop, which comes 5 jack 5 rainbow. I could elect to c-bet with this board trying to represent a jack, but I decide to check back against the specific player heads up. The hijack checks it back. Turn is ace of clubs. That's a good card for us, so we're going to continue for $15. Hijack actually insta raises us to $60. I'm not too sure what 5s you could have here aside from ace 5, which we also block, and with an ace being on the board. So I like to call now that we turned our pair. The river brings an 8 of clubs, which is basically a blank. I decide to check it given that we have showdown value. The hijack bets $40 for this price. I think we just have to call to see what he has. And the hijack shows us king 5 of clubs, so you flop the trip 5s. Given the player type, in hindsight, I should be folding that raise on the turn because it's somewhat of an OMC type player. It's just weird that he would be calling my pre-flop bet with king 5. I guess it's suited. So, of course, in hindsight, we should be making that fold. And I think I just burned $100 that obviously did not need it to be punted off there. In this one, we are under the gun +1 with ace 7 suited. Let's try to get a strong suited hand to work for us. We open for $15. The cutoff calls and small blind, big blind fold. So we go heads up to a flop, which comes 4, 6, 8 rainbow. We flop the gutter ball. So we're going to continue with our equity for $15. The cutoff decides to call. The turn brings the deuce of clubs. So with this brick, we decide to check and slow down. The cutoff bets $30. For half pot, we're not going in anywhere. I think our ace is still good, and obviously our gutter ball to the 5 is very disguised. There's not many 7x's pre-flop that we'd be raising aside from pocket 7s. So we did elect to call. The river brings the ace of diamonds, which is just what we were looking for. We decide to go large here. If he has an 8x hand, he might be a non-believer, so we decide to bet $100 into 124. Sadly enough, the cutoff folds face up, king, queen. So they were trying to steal the pot from us on the turn, and they obviously had nothing on the river to call us down with. So on to the next one. In this hand, we get to look at the premium best hand pocket aces in the small blind. The button straddles on, so we get to open big, basically being in under the gun position. We open for $21. The big blind, the +1, and the button calls. The flop comes 8, 5, 9 rainbow. In a spot, I'm not too sure what to do. I elect to open jam, given that the players are $200, $300, and $150 effective. Multi-way, it's kind of hard to bully people out of the pot if they have any type of equity. We're just going to try to take down all the money here. If they have any equity or if they just flopped it, then they deserve to just take it down and win it. Anyways, the big blind and the +1 fold, and the button calls with 4-7 offsuit. We decide to run twice to reduce the variance, and he's able to find the magic 6 on the second run out, giving him the straight. So we chop up the other player's money and we're able to make a small $20 or so profit. In this next one, it's a weird one. We have Queen Jack of spades in the undergun +1. The button straddle's on. The big blind limps it, and he's been a relatively tight player. Tight in the sense that he hasn't played many hands, but not too tight in the sense that he only plays premiums. We elect to make it $20. The button calls, and the big blind goes all in for $100 effective. With what I just said, I think I have a lot of equity against this player, and the button also, who was on the straddle, has been kind of losing a lot of pots, even with premium holding, so he's kind of tilted. I know he's most likely going to call, even though he has $80 behind the 100 if he calls. So I like to just flat, and the button also calls, and like I said, he has $80 behind. Flop comes deuce, 3, king, 2 clubs and a diamond, so not what we were looking for at all. If the button decides to go all in, we're obviously going to fold, and that's exactly what happens when we check to him. He jams, we fold. Those two players decide to run it twice. The button actually has pocket 3s, and the big blind has pocket 8, so we were in a lot better shape than we thought calling pre-flop. I honestly thought we needed to hit spades or a queen jack type combo. I didn't think they were as strong as jacks or better at all, so we were definitely in a better spot than we thought. The run out actually gives an 8 on the bottom board when they run it twice, so they ended up chopping the pot, funnily enough, and let's go on to the next one. We're forced to play our next hand as we're in the big blind with 10-9 offsuit, so when the low jack, high jack, small blind limp to us, we check our option. Flop comes 8-7-4 rainbow. The small blind bets $20. We have an easy call here being open-ended, and the low jack also makes a call, high jack folds. 3 ways to a turn, which is the 8 of clubs. The small blind continues for $20. For that small sizing, we're not going anywhere, so we make the call, and the low jack also makes the call. The river is the 5 of spades, so now there's 4 to a straight. When the small blind checks it to us, I'm pretty sure he's too weak to make any sizable call, only betting 20 on the turn and checking the river. We just had to get our bet through the low jack, so we size up to 100 into 132. Obviously our 10 high is no good, so we're going to have to try to bluff at this to take it down. We decide on a sizing of $100, trying to represent a 6. The low jack pretty quickly makes a call and the small blind folds. We decide to muck with 10 high being no good. Obviously I'm not sure what they called down with, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had called down being sticky with an 8. We look down at ace jack offsuit once again in the cutoff, the under the gun, the +1 limp. Hijack makes it $20. We're going to call here with a premium. Small blind, big blind fold, and the under the gun and the +1 call. We're going 4 ways, so flop which comes king 8-6 rainbow. The under the gun, the +1 check it. The hijack decides to jam all in for $140 effective, and everyone folds. On to the next one. In this hand, we have king 10 offsuit again in the low jack. The bun trail is on. The small blind, big blind limp it. We're going to try to take down that $18 dead. We make it $20. The hijack actually calls, the button folds, and the small blind calls, and the big blind folds. So we go 3 ways to flop, which comes jack 7-4, diamond, club, heart. The small blind actually donk bets $30, and I think we just have an easy fold here. That donk bet is pretty protective of any jack X hand, so we fold, the hijack folds, and we go on to the next one. It must be a weird day because we look down at another pocket pair again, pocket 7s under the gun. We open for $20 and only the big blind calls us when it gets back to him. Flop comes 7-5-3, 2 clubs and a spade, so we flop top set. Big blind checks it, we make it super small, we bet $15, the big blind calls, and the turn is the 9 of spades. So it's a really weird connected straight board. I'm not sure what kind of straight he might have. If he has one, 6-8, 6-4 are really weird combos. The big blind has about $50 behind, so when he checks to us, we decide to just jam it in, and the big blind folds. This hand's definitely a super weird one. We have 4-3 of clubs under the gun. This is obviously a fold pre, but we elect to limp. The low jack limps, and the cutoff, who's a relatively tight OMC player, makes it $23. The small blind, big blind folds. When it gets back to us, I think we have a lot of equity against his perceived range, and our hand's pretty disguised if we flop any equity at all. Even if we flop a pair, we're most likely good. The low jack folds, so we go heads up to flop, which comes 7-8 jack, all clubs. So he flopped the 4 high flush. I elect to check, looking to check raise him. The cutoff does in fact bet $45, and we do in fact check raise to 120. The cutoff folds. The reason I elect to check raise the spot is because there's a lot of scared turn cards where they're bad cards for myself. Any club is bad for me, as well as any club that could be bad for him. If he has ace club hand, king club hand, he'll obviously call. If he has a strong jack like ace jack, he most likely will call. But there's a lot of turn cards that are bad for both of our hands, so if I want to get the money in now with my 4 high flush, it's probably the best idea to get it in on the flop. Anyways, that's my thinking process. On to the next one. We're on the button strat, and we get to look down at another pocket pair, being pocket 3s. Small blind makes it $20, and it folds back around to us in the button, and I think we have an easy call here to set mine. So we elect to make the call. The flop comes deuce, king, 4, rainbow. Small blind checks it. We're going to check it, pot control. Turns to 6 of spades, and now we turn the gutter ball to the 5. Small blind checks it. With our equity, we're going to try to take down the pot. If he has anything, he's going to call. If not, we get to take down dead money. We decide to bet 50% of the pot, $20, and the small blind does in fact call. River is a 6 of hearts. Small blind checks it. We obviously have showdown value now, so we check it back, and the small blind actually shows us pocket queens. Oh boy, these suited connector hands are so much fun to play. We have 7, 6 of spades in the big blind. The under the gun, the +1, the hijack, and the cutoff limp it. The button announces that he's going to build the pot for us, so he makes it $10. Small blind folds, and everyone else calls. So that gives us 6 people going to a flop, which comes 7, 6, 3, rainbow. We flop top 2. We're going to decide to just bet with our equity and protect our hand. This is a pretty wet board, given that any 5 or 4 will make the straight, 4 to the straight. And obviously 8, 9 can be there. There are over pairs that will call us, so we bet $40 leading out, and everyone folds. So that's a pretty healthy pot to take down multi-way, and we can't be any too disappointed about it. This hand we're in the big blind with ace 4 of clubs, the low jack, the hijack, the small blind limp it. We make it $18. Only the hijack calls, so we go heads up to a flop, which comes ace jack 3, rainbow. We flop a top pair. The moment I reach for chips, the hijack folds, so easy pot, easy game. I don't know if you saw it, but I have pocket aces in this hand, 2 black aces in the low jack. We open for $20. The hijack calls. The cutoff, who is actually a super type player, 3 bets to $65. This only means that he has 10s or better. He rarely 3 bets. I would say he has a 3 bet frequency of probably 5% or less. I decide if the money's going in, it's going in now. I elect to jam for his 300 effective. The hijack folds, and the cutoff does in fact call. So I'll let you guys see the run out. Here we go.
That's a pretty good board.
I'm not too sure what he got it in with, because I asked him later if he had kings or queens, and he said he didn't. I'd be very surprised if he got it in with 9s or worse, but we're always happy to take down a pretty big pot with aces pre-flop. On to the next one. Funnily enough, that last hand was our second to last hand for the session, and this one is our last hand. We have king 9 offsuit, our favorite hand. Started the session with it, we're going to end it with it. We decide to limp it against our new friend, Sai. He actually makes it $15 for us, and we elect to call with our favorite hand for the last hand of the session. Flop comes 7-5-5 though, so when he jams all in $30 effective, we fold and he shows us pocket 10s. Nice hand. One of our favorite cage guys, Vlad, wanted to be in the vlog, so I included him in it. Shout out to you, Vlad. Don't worry, we tipped him out before we cashed out. What's up, poker people? We're just finishing the session at 52 Social. We were in the game for $1,050, out of the game for $1,625. That's a $575 profit. Good day. We obviously made some pretty light calls and punted off a bit of our early profit, but we were able to get that cooler spot 2 hands before we were done, under the gun +1, aces against whatever he had. But he's definitely a type player. I was very surprised that he 3-bet and then just insta called us. He usually never plays anything worse than like jack, so I asked him if he had kings or queens. He said no, so I'm really wondering if he really shipped it or called on my all-in with like 10s or jacks, thinking I was shoving light. Anyways, good under the gun +1 hand to end the session on, and then obviously we had our favorite hand we weren't able to hit. But always a good session to end out with profit. That's 2 buy-ins basically. Look out for the next video. It's going to be a special one. I'm going to basically be explaining why I play at 52 social and why it's my favorite place to play, and probably one of the only best places to play in the country and maybe even in the world right now because of COVID and all that. Super great safety precautions, super great room, super great action. Look out for the next video. It's a good one. Until that next one, peace.